Yeah, I first became interested in Emma James. I think, you know, I was early teens. It was at a time when I was kind of really into Sherlock Holmes. I loved Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce films. I played Call of Cthulhu and Dungeons and Dragons. I was into kind of Edwardian and fantasy stuff. I probably wore a kind of old man's tweed coat and so on. I was probably just beginning to smoke cigarettes, experimenting with the pipe. It was kind of a period of kind of, yeah, I suppose I kind of had retro tastes. And Emma James fitted with all of this. And I read the collected works, I think. My dad lent me his book. And then I, you know, enjoyed it, passed through my teenage years, through my 20s, and then in my early 30s I started working at the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridge. Having really forgotten about Emma James, but I discovered when I was working there that he had been the director of the museum. And this kind of gave me a fresh impetus to look at the stories again. And I would just remember rereading for the first time Canon Alberic's scrapbook, and I was just immediately transported back to the time when I'd first read it and the absolute thrill of reading it. And I don't think it was fear, I don't think it was the thrill of terror. I think it was just the great excitement of the story, and I just had an idea that the writer, his style just, I could hear it in my head as well as read it on the page. And that kind of gave me the idea to start performing them, even before I found out that he in fact did write them originally to read out loud. And then it went from there. I first performed in the Founders Library of the Fitzwilliam Museum, which had been Emma James's office when he was a director there, around about 1900, at exactly the time he was writing Canon Alberic's scrapbook and the rest of his first lot of ghost stories. And yeah, I kind of lost, the funding for my post ran out, so I found myself unemployed, but with a production under my belt that I decided to take on tour, and I've been doing it for the last 12 years. Well, Emma James, he was born in Kent. His dad was a rector, but at about the age of 3 he moved to Great Livermere in Suffolk, which is about 8 miles from Bury St Edmunds, and it's one of these villages that still feels kind of slightly cut off from the modern world. It's a very quiet place today, probably, you know, a lot of commuters live there and so on, but his father was the vicar there, and Emma James, the young Emma James, would wander the villages of Suffolk, indulging in his precocious interest in church furniture and windows and paintings and books. And from a very early age, the Suffolk landscape and the antiquities of Suffolk in particular lodged in his mind. And in fact, the experience of growing up in this Suffolk village, he says in his last published story, it was published after his death, it's called a vignette. It's not even really a story, it's kind of an account of what seems to be a genuine childhood experience that he says has lodged in his memory throughout his life. And I think the experiences that he had, the atmosphere that he picked up and imagined in rural Suffolk in the 1860s and 70s absolutely stayed with him. What was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, it is a classic story. It's a thriller, at least the way I've kind of adapted it and tried to tell it. It's a thriller. It's not even like a ghost story. There's no ghost in it. There's a haunting atmosphere. There's the possibility of unspeakable horror, but it's a chase in a way, isn't it?